Professor Issa, delight to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria, and good morning, NTA.
Okay, and also with us via Zoom from Asaba, the Delta State capital, we would like to welcome the immediate past chairman of Isoko South Local Government Area of the state, is Honorable Itiako Ikpokpo. As I said, he is from Isoko, and his name is Itiako Ikpokpo. Pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, bros. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, so gentlemen, that's a lovely sound there of the name of the former chairman of Isoko South Local Government. So here we are, beginning with two senior advocates with us in the studios. First, Okutekpa, what's your reaction to the Supreme Court decisions last Friday with regard to the nullification of the dismissal of local government chairmen by state governors? I'm asking this question against the background of the often unsalutary experience that the Fourth Republic has witnessed with respect to not just the enunciation of local government administration, but to the proper functioning of that tier of government.
Well, I'm not surprised. I will not be surprised. And it will not surprise me because the Supreme Court and all our courts of superior courts have been consistently consistent in declaring the unconstitutional conduct of our chief executives across Nigeria. This is not the first time it has been happening, and I had a privilege, for instance, sometimes 2006, to go to court where the then governor dissolved elected local government councillors who have a fixed tenure, and the court actually came down heavily. And before then, there have been a series of decisions. I think, if you permit me, and it is unfortunate I will say what I want to say, is that virtually, if not all, of our elected personalities in Nigeria who swore to defend, uphold, and protect Nigeria's constitution engage on daily basis what I refer to as constitutional sacrilege in disobeying the same constitution that brought them to power. Because the constitution is clear in section 7 that the system of governance in Nigeria under local government shall be by democratically elected government. But as soon as governors come to power and the elected councillors or chairmen are not of their political party, they engage in this kind of constitutional abuse of dissolution. And the reason is very simple. When Nigerian governors ask for more power, I ask them for what? The one that you have a child that you are supposed to nurture, which is local government, and you are treating them as if they don't have the life of their own. Everything meant for local government, with respect, are hijacked by these governors. And you have local government that are mere local government in name, that have been starved of their constitutional functions. And so when they come to power, they act like emperor and dissolve this local government and cow them, put them in their pockets, and at the same time, what is meant for them is like what the scripture says: he who has more will more be given, and even those who have none, even that little which they have, is taken away. So the reason why our governors engage in this constitutional insubordination is because of primitive acquisition of power. They want to dominate. They don't want, and I regret to tell you that what we operate in this country is not democracy, it's civilian government in dictatorship. Because where democracy holds sway, sovereignty belongs to the people. But in Nigeria, I think sovereignty belongs to he who has the power or has the opportunity to put himself in power. And then the rest of us seems to, with respect, to be slaves. And they treat us with no respect. That's why even when the Constitution is very clear, there is no requirement for interpretation, they still insist on going to court for interpretation. Because what is clear requires no interpretation. I'm sure, Mazi, that's a principle of law of considerable antiquity. So, I'm not surprised. The Supreme Court has said so. And I'm happy that there was a caveat. And our court now, I think, needs to bite more than backing. If a lawyer files a process that's down outrightly frivolous or abuse of process, that lawyer ought to be sanctioned. We have gotten to that level. Because the reason why we are seeing what we are seeing is that Nigeria operates a system that there are no consequences. That is why, even on coming here, people will drive against traffic. And I have said before, and I want to say it here, that in this country it appears to me that nobody respects the law. The lawyers don't. Policemen don't. Politicians don't. Everybody has in DNA what I refer to as lawlessness. That's why what is happening. Otherwise, in a pure democratic constitutional regime, you can't see the daily sacrilegious misconduct of our political leaders who daily violate our constitution and as if nothing is happening and nobody is ready to take them to task. They even desecrate our courts, unfortunately.
Well, thank you, Jibrin Okutepa. I mean, you've made some valid points here, and that we shall be looking at that in the course of this program. Mazi, it's only when, I think, when things become so difficult to understand, and then so technical sometimes that, you know, people head to the courts in order to verify or clarify them from a higher authority. And as he said, here in this country, things are plain. People know they are just there. It's in black and white, can be read and understood even by a primary school child. And here we find ourselves rushing to the courts with them. What's your take on this verdict vis-a-vis what he said?
The verdict of the Supreme Court was much celebrated in the media and everywhere over the weekend. But the surprising thing is that it's not a novel decision. It's a restatement of the law. Mm-hmm. And like Chief Okutepa said, there have been various decisions. As far back as the Honorable Samuel Olubuwan, governor of Ekiti State, Chigozie and governor of Abia, many decisions by the Supreme Court, even describing the actions of the governors as amounting to executive recklessness. Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court stated that the local government chairman, council chairman, derive their mandate from the people who elected them and emphasized the fact that the Constitution has guaranteed a democratically elected system of local government, and that having derived their legitimacy from the people, that the governors lack power either to dissolve the councils, to abridge their tenure, or do anything. Yet these governors who have sworn an oath to protect the Constitution, to abide by its provisions, and execute laws made, purport to have powers. And like I said in my last appearance here, it's about greed. The governors do this because they want to take the funds meant for local government that is in the joint account of local government. Otherwise, if a people have been elected, why would a governor seek to control them by dissolving the council? Why will a governor, knowing that there are so many decisions, assuming there was any doubt, stating that they cannot do, continue to do that? It's also like Chief Okutepa, there are no consequences. And even lawyers, knowing that there are decisions of the Supreme Court, that there are no gray areas. That is not a recondite area of law. That these are settled areas of law. Lawyers will argue them, and also the lawyers escape without any consequence. No disciplinary action taken against them. And they waste the time of the court because the governors are reckless. They know that our judicial process is such that they can run the clock on this local government system. So while you are litigating, your tenure will run out. And so they do the wrong thing. and because nothing happens to them, their houses of assembly lack the political will to take it as an act of political misconduct on their part that merit impeachment. Of course, the members of the House, we should say it, they are tied to the apron strings of the governor. They are stooges. They can't do anything. And like I always mention, these are people who rejected financial autonomy for themselves. They don't want to be helped. They go to consult the governor before sitting, and indeed there are no debates, no interesting arguments from our house because they are handpicked. Everybody lives in fear of the government. So we have civilian dictatorship. So the governor is the lord of the manor.
Since you brought up the issue of the House of Assembly, let's deal with that now. Some of these states have these laws in place. They even enact the laws. They give the executive their principal, that is the governors, the powers to really, undertake this kind of recklessness, if I can put it in quotes.
What kind of a legislature, knowing that there's a decision, there are pronouncements, emphasis on pronouncements by the apex court of the land, that a governor lacks the power to dissolve council, but that same legislature still goes ahead to pretend to be enacting laws, giving such non-existent powers, thereby emasculating the authority of government. And I hear governors make such laughable arguments as, but the local governments are not federating units. Nobody is saying they are, but the Constitution has guaranteed their existence, guaranteed the democratic nature of their emergence and operation, and only say that the state shall make law to ensure their existence, and that the law shall provide for their functions, structure, tenure, and finance. And it does not give you power. If you say there is financial misappropriation, they have councillors who also constitute their legislature, who should be able to take action on that. So the governor just issues a press release or makes an announcement, and then they put in their handpicked persons. And it's always about the money. It's never about the interest of the people. And that's why, despite the trillions of naira that have gone to the local government, they have nothing to show for them. They simply pay salaries, and the local government fund has become a slush fund until we ensure that the governors have no access to this money. For so long will the governors continue to be reckless, act with impunity, and with a devil-may-care attitude. And because there is no sanction, either judicial or political or otherwise.
All right, Mazi Afambosigwe, Senior Advocate, thank you very much. Let's go over now to our Ibadan Network Center, where we earlier introduced Honorable Kehinde Olasebikon. He's a former chairman of Oluyole local government area for your state. Now, Honorable Olasebikon, we understand that you had a similar experience of being among chairmen whose councils were dissolved sometime in 2007. Two things. What was your infraction in 2007 when your council was dissolved, and of course you were also thrown out? And more importantly, how do you explain the appetite of governors just going against the grain of a series of Supreme Court decisions saying that they do not have the kind of powers that they purport to exercise in dissolving councils and sacking elected chairmen and councillors?
Thank you very much. Let me say first that I agree with the two sons that are just spoken. But beyond what they said, this particular judgment is a landmark one because it is very unambiguous and it's unsparing. It went beyond just saying that pay their salary as was done in Ekiti State. It said that pay the salaries, pay the allowances, thereafter compensate them by paying additional 8 months' salary. Thereafter, it gave a deadline within which to pay, which was not in the case of the state, that paid them before August 7 this year. In addition, a fine was imposed on the governor that will serve as deterrence to others from perpetrating what I call a tyranny of power, to pay 20 million naira as fine. So those ones are novels in this particular judgment of your state. Going back to your point, your question on what happened to us in 2007. You see, like the Mazi said, we elect governors who don't really respect the sanctity of our constitution. They don't, because it happens usually immediately after they were sworn in. After they are just holding the Quran or Bible in their hand and swearing with our constitution on the left hand, immediately, like what happened in our own case in 2007, as soon as the governor was sworn in, the first pronouncement he made was that the solution of elected local councils. The same thing happened in 2099 when the governor they came in. After telling the world, I'm going to uphold this particular constitution with only Bible in your hand. All they've taken all these inaugurations to be just mere jamborees that are just going for ordinary ceremonies. They don't know the implications of what they are doing, and that is not good for this country. There are our own and the present ones. They happen at different times. There are different situations. In 2007, Governor Kala came in, dissolved us. We went to court. We pursued up to Supreme Court. We did not get. We were not reinstated. This particular in this particular case, they held their election over almost more than a year before the end of that government. And they went to Supreme Court. What has happened now, we must commend the gallantry of the council chairmen and their councillors. And number two, the government of the day, by its pronouncements and actions, show that it is ready. It goes by, it supports and protect the rule of law. I can remember that in the course of this, their own struggle that has led to this new arrangement that has put paid to tyranny of power in the state. The Attorney General of Nigeria, the Minister of Justice, issued a statement when they got an injunction for them to be reinstated after the governor sacked them. The Attorney General went to the extent of asking the IG or police to give them access to their offices. So the present government should be commended to that, because the government is interested in making sure that things work properly at the local government level, that democracy is deepened at the grassroots. And I've heard this. All these governors, when they come in, they sack local governments that they met in place because they are not from their party. And it has actually never worked. They sack because they want political power and they want economic power at the same time from local government, believing that that's what will make them to get a second term. And that's actually, it has never worked. And when we go with this maxim, distinguishing politicians from leaders, they don't show that they are leaders. They will come in the first day. What you are thinking of is how to get a second time 4 years. You don't even know when I'm going to reach that period. That's what they do. Instead of thinking of how do I strengthen this institution that's called democracy. This office that I'm stepping into today, how am I going to improve on what I've met on grant? What they will be bothering about is, okay, I've come in now. They get all these emergency strategies. We tell them, you have to put local government in your pocket, and it doesn't work. In my state here, your state, in 2003, the incumbent did not win. That's why he had all the local government chairmen from his party in 2003. 2007, the same thing happened. 2011, the same thing happened. 2015 was a bit different because Nigerian will be won, but with what margin? And fast forward to 2019. What happened in 2019? Governor Jimabi was the governor. He had the chairman. He had everybody. We could not deliver your state to the federal government. Governor Jimabi, I'm not saying it derisively, but just to situate things appropriately. Yes. He had all these chairmen too, that this common question, he could not win a senatorial seat in your state. And this same chairman that could not deliver a senatorial seat for Governor Jimabi was one that Governor Makinde came in and sacked because he wanted political power. And meanwhile, these people had spent 1 year, it remained only 2 years for them, instead of allowing them to run their term, be like a leader, not just a politician. They could be yours. They don't even need to be your person. You have your own guidelines, you have your own rules, you have your own functions, you have your own roles, you have your own funds. So if you spread your funds very well, if you govern very well, most of them even come to you. If they don't even come to you, you have relationship with the masses, with the electorate. If you perform very well, your second time will be guaranteed. But by flagrant abuse of our constitution, that is clearly stated, these people are elected, and on your own, you are elected too. If President Bernard says, because you are not from his party, I sack you, how will he feel? So I want to say, what has happened now is good for us in this country. Your story said whether it's Uru, it's not yet Uru, but it's a big leap. It's good because we need to go beyond this one to talk about the conduct of local government elections itself. How do they conduct elections? What has state governors, what have they added to these democracies we are practicing today since 1999? They've not added a block to it. At the national level, we are making good progress. Election in 1999 is not the same as election in 2003, 2007. From 2007 forward, our elections have been graduating. At the state level, what has happened? No improvements today. They are not helping our democracy. I think what you need to focus more, instead of this Abuja, Buhari thing, focus more on the states. Know what is happening. The state governors are, I think they are the major problem in this country. But we have not realized that. But when we realize that, we know that our problem is solved. State governors, what they do, they have so enormous powers, and when they use powers in their states, oh God. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kehinde, Honorable Kehinde there. Thank you so much. Let's move over to, Isoko South local government. Honorable Ichiako Ikpokpo. Congratulations, first of all. And indeed, it's a good day for local government chairman, for Algon and all those related to that. Now, what is it, or where do we head to from here? Taking a cue from Kehinde Olaoshibikon, where are we headed?
Well, first, good morning, Nigerians. I would like to take a cue rather from the two SANs. You know that my colleague in Oyo State is a little tainted with politics, and I rather like to flow, because at Algon, there's no political party. Olaoshibikon, first of all, congratulations. You know the role that President Kolade Alabi, who is the president of Algon, played, the letters and the funding to which we also try to assist our colleagues in Oyo State. What is important and sad is that this is not the first time. We have had judgments in the past. And what Mr. Afam Osigwe alluded to, SAN, is to the fact that there's just legal recklessness on the part of a lot of people. We are not looking at the substance of what local government should be as a nation. The judgment you see is not, we're not excited. I must be very frank, we're not excited. We're not excited in the sense that these judgments have been there. It is a known fact. And the Supreme Court is only reasserting itself as to the fact that it is wrong for any governor to just wake up and dissolve local government councils that have been elected. Continuation to that, sir, I have seen the judgment, and my colleague Olaoshibikon is talking about compensation and payment and all. The danger in that is that if a governor removes chairman of council, all he will do is, okay, in worst case scenario, when the Supreme Court gives another judgment, they will ask us to pay them, but I've removed them. I think we should go a step further. The allocations should be held back. The allocations should be withheld until we have proper local government administrations in this country. What we are saying in Algon is that it is time for us to realize that nation building is dependent on local government system. And I like to say, maybe from my own experience as chairman of Algon for 6 years in Delta State, they need to come and learn from Governor Kowa. This is not political, this is not partisan. It is free, you can come and see. He doesn't want to be part of what is happening in local government. We forced him to, because in the case there are challenges, particularly financial challenges, the state has been bailing us out. We have deep issues in this country. And moving
Oh, shame. It appears there is a freeze there on the... Okay, Honorable Ikpokpo, we understand you are back. Continue, please.
Sorry, I didn't know I went off. The point I'm making is that we need to understand as a nation that until the local governments function properly, adequately, responsibly, Nigeria as an entity will continue to run in circles. And that is the fact. The bandits, the insurgency we are seeing today, there are issues that can be handled at the local government level. And that is the truth. So it's called engagement. And so we need to realize quickly that local governments are a functional part of governance in this country. Importantly, the position of Algon National, led by Kolade Alabi, is simple and straightforward. It's happening in Kwara, Even in Katsina, Governor Masari has not had elections in 6 years. That's the president's state. We have the case of Oyo, and so on and so forth. And we are saying that we cannot continue like this. A non-elected government destabilizes the system. It doesn't give for legitimacy. People want to be part of a legitimate process, and that legitimacy is gotten from an election. Even if SEC will conduct the elections, there must be some form of legitimacy. And so for us, we are excited, but we are not so excited because the Supreme Court is only reaffirming the law and the position of the law, as it were. And this is not the first time, this is not the second time. Our hope and our belief is that it is time for, the wind is blowing. If you see what is happening in the country, the wind is blowing from Abia to Ekiti to Plateau to Kwara. These judgments have been there. And so I believe that Algon is engaging, because not all governors are on this path, I must tell you. And we need to begin to call out the ones that are not on this path. There are governors that are responsible in this country in terms of local government administration. I can say that boldly, very boldly, because I have the facts. But there are some too who have not conducted themselves in a way that should lead Nigeria on the path of restoration. Because local government will help to restore national dignity. Local government will help to restore the challenges that we face as a people. So it is important that we take local government serious. And I think that everybody, all hands need to be on deck. Algon's position is that we are happy, we're part of the process. We want to ensure that if they can do elections in Borno and Yobe states, and we applaud them, I don't see any reason why there should be caretaker governments anywhere. I don't see any reason why any governor should sack its citizens who are elected by its people in any tier of government. And that is why, for some governors who insist, like Governor Kowa of Delta State, that he does not like caretaker government. And he has lived by it in the 2 terms he has been there. So our position as Algon is we applaud it, but we are not very excited because the Supreme Court is only reasserting the position of the law.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Ipopo, there for your comments. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. Let's also now join Professor Mohammed Issa, who is with us. We earlier introduced him via Zoom from Zaria. He's a professor of governance in the Department of Local Government Administration at ABU. Professor Mohammed Issa, now tell us something. Does the latest decision by the Supreme Court represent a new dawn for democratically elected local governments so that we would see going forward an end to what the learned senior advocate Okutekba refers to as constitutional insubordination by some state governors?
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for having me, NTA. It's very important to put forward a position that part of the challenges of insecurity that we're having in Nigeria is as a result of the collapse of local governance in Nigeria. And there are a lot of, pointers to indicate that a lot of the challenges of the insecurity and the architecture of insecurity in Nigeria is linked to the local government, because the local governments have their own security structure on the ground. And in most states, because they are stifled, they are conscript, the governance architecture is collapsed. And so there's no governance. From the judgment so far, we are not surprised, because there's been a 2006 Supreme Court judgment, which if we even refer to that 2006 judgment, it even defines what is federalism in Nigeria and how the federal system in Nigeria should be so structured. If you read the letters and spirit of that judgment, it did not just nullify the Revenue Monitoring Act of 2005. It defined the relationship between federal government and state government and local government, and how these subordinate or independent entities within a federal structure should relate with each other. So going forward, the judgment is laudable as it is because it reenacts itself in various spheres, in the relationship between the federal and the state, and the federal and local government, state and local government. But at the local government level, what is missing is simply that with the judgment, there are no elections, and there are no good system or processes of election. So the governors institute processes or put trappings in the process of primary elections and hijack the state electoral system and put in place puppets. And so you stifle democracy. And unfortunately, what my colleagues and various speakers don't really appreciate is that long years of military rule has not produced democrats, because we took over elections in 1999 with people who have been either SAs, commissioners, or protocol officers under military rule, and they are used to the hierarchy of military culture and political administration. And so with 1999, you have a stream of politicians who have served military administration for more than almost 2 decades. And so they are not used to the political culture of democracy. And so you have people who are supposed to be Democrat, but behaving like autocrats or oligarchs in the system of a democratic government. So we have serious challenge. And one of the major challenges also that governors institute puppets and then get them to subvert the section 162 of the Constitution, subsection 678, where the joint account issue is, and they get them to write checks in the guise of joint projects. And so if we say that this is one landmark victory, it is not yet Uhuru, because we must ensure full local government autonomy. Autonomy must be defined as autonomy. What do we mean by autonomy at the local government level? Now, this autonomy must have political ramifications, economic and financial ramifications, administrative and structural ramifications, operational definitions of autonomy. Then we can now begin to clap our hands. So going beyond the judgment of the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court affirmed is illegality of autocrats in power, impunity in power, abuse of due processes. Because the Constitution is very clear in spirit and letters that Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution states that, the system of local government through democratically elected local government council is by this Constitution guaranteed. There's no ambiguity about that English language. You don't need to speak Queen's language to know what those letters mean in English terms. So you cannot have any system in the local government system except democratically elected local government council. But in place, what do you have? Interim management committee, caretaker committee, sole administrators. And I can assure you,
let's come back to the studio. Jibril Okutepa, let's look at what he is saying vis-a-vis the behavior of the governors and the houses of assembly and, of course, the local government. We've already established the fact that all elected officials swear by the Constitution and by the creed they belong to or they swear in. And, of course, we would not assume that they are acting out of the law because they know what the law is. They enact laws, like I asked Afam in the previous question. And of course, we now find a situation where all of this are being done within the precinct of the law, and they try to defend it. Now, Professor said the Constitution has guaranteed the local government, the state government, the federal government. Where do these governors, derive their own powers and laws and the houses of assembly in order to, strangulate the local governments through certain, practices and aspects like the joint account and the rest of them?
Well, Prof has said something that is very significant. And like I said in the beginning, I think this country, we have the laws, and people operate outside the laws, and there are no consequences for that misbehavior. Let me say this. Supreme Court needs to go further, and that is where I expect Nigerians to begin to think along. Today, we have apartheid executive, whether you like it or not. Indeed, if it were possible, and they are doing it with all commitment, to even strangulate the judiciary, there is no legislature that is independent. If we had, by now, 90% of our governors would have been removed.
Impeached, that is.
Impeached.
Right.
Because everything that you see happening are impeachable offenses. When you go to this issue of local government, ask any patriotic, nationalistic local government chairman in Nigeria, he does not get what he signed. They are made to sign 1 million, whereas what goes to the pocket may be 100 naira. And because we don't run accountable government in this country, government is run, and the most lucrative business in Nigeria, apart from banditry now, is politics. And because people go into these politics, they take our commonwealth, they share it, and they are mustered a way and manner that appears to be legitimate. They appoint people they call consultants. These consultants will do no job. They will arrange litigation. They concede to judgment. They share the money. So because Nigeria, we don't ask questions. So what is happening has been happening, and is coming up now in a more geometrical proportion. And we are no longer seeing the money the way it was trickling down. So people are now complaining. So we know what is wrong, but we are not prepared to do away what is wrong, because a lot of people benefit from this wrong. Now, why should the governor dissolve local government? Because if he's in the opposition, he will say something. Once they are in the political party, in the same party, because of what they talk about loyalty to political party, even when they are in terrible oppression, in oppressing environment, they don't talk. Because if you talk, you may disappear in the night, your family may not see you again. So a lot of things are happening in this country. And I'm happy that my colleague from Oyo says we blame Buhari for everything, but we forget that people that are in the local government, in the state government, are our problems. So I would think that next time, if opportunity presents itself before the Supreme Court, anyone who accepts to become caretaker in place of elected local government should be made to refund the money he collects. He or she. We should start making example, and we insist that that money be paid within a given number of days. If you fail to do, go to prison. Until we start allow the terrorism of law to operate, people will not fear. And what do I mean by this? Let there be sanction. Let there be sanction. Let there be sanction. Even this governor, let the House of Assembly, for once, bring them to book. Let at the national level, let political party really believe in democracy, call their people to order. Otherwise, Nigeria is not operating democracy.
In these circumstances, Jibril, the House of Assembly may not be able to do that, given your explanation that they may have belonged to the same party, the loyalty, disloyalty, and the rest of them are there. So you kind of find.
So the unfortunate thing is that we pretend to be practicing democracy while we're operating what looks like apartheid regime. We are not practicing democracy, because if we do, the House of Assembly is supposed to act as a check and balances on the executive. Sometimes I was sharing with my colleague, some judges will be eulogizing the executive for doing what the Constitution says they should do. Why should I thank you for buying a car for a judge when the judge is entitled to the car? Why should I praise you for giving borehole when it's your duty to do so? But Nigerian government, unfortunately, we operate a government of advertorial. We advertise what we have not achieved. People clap hard for you. You go to the place, you are not seeing anything. And sycophancy has become the order of the day. So unfortunately.
All right. Okutakwa, Lawrence, Advocate of Nigeria, and the other gentlemen who are still guests in this conversation segment. We're going to take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Life can be very eventful. We curiously expect things to happen, even when we don't know what. Our human nature makes us like and repost lots of information. Some are unverified, inciting anger and hate. Sometimes innocently, other times the urge to break it first. This, in most cases, has caused destruction in many nations.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College short proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Intermediate camera operation techniques. Date 17th May to 11th June 2021. 4 weeks. Electrical power, earthing, lighting, UPS, inverter and solar system. Date 31st May to 4th June 2021. 1 week. Studio broadcast equipment and OB operations. Date 14th June to 18th June 2021. 1 week. English grammar and pronunciation for broadcasters. Date 28th June to 23rd July 2021. 4 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 100,000 naira per participant, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 40,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. Venue for all the courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Gentlemen, there's an aspect I would like us to take a look at, so that it's almost like returning to first principles. And my question will be going first to Mazi Afam Osigwe. The constitutionally guaranteed, democratically elected local governments also provides for the fact that the state houses of assembly shall make their laws for the operation and related matters of local governments. In other words, the Constitution, yes, already stipulates that local governments shall exist, but it is the responsibility of a state House of Assembly to define all kinds of issues, including tenure, for instance, which is why in some states, like Lagos, you have 4 years. Elsewhere, it's mostly 3 years. But those provisions in the laws, in the respective state laws, are not uniform throughout the country. So, for instance, in terms of sanctions, where there is an erring councillor, a local government chairman, and so on and so forth, there are provisions for suspension. Provisions for suspension. What, going forward, would be the import of the Supreme Court judgments if it were to mean, in the minds of elected local government chairmen, that, yes, the Supreme Court says that we cannot be removed by a state governor. So we must do our 3 years, and then we begin to misbehave. Misbehavior could get to the criminal extreme of misappropriating funds. Of course, you can then call on EFCC and ICPC to deal with those ones. But if you are not performing your function, for instance, your functions under the state law, as well as, for instance, under the 4th schedule to the Constitution, itemizing the roles of local councils, where are we? In other words, are local governments likely, in some instances, to be energized by this Supreme Court decision to say, look, you have no control over, governors, you have no control over us. You were elected, we're also elected, I will do my work, you'll do your work. If I fail to do my work, nothing, 3 years after I go away.
It is a fundamental principle of democracy that when you've been elected, you have the option to succeed or to fail, to carry out the mandate you've been given. And in many instances in Nigeria, many persons fail, whether at the presidential, gubernatorial, local government council. So let us not pretend that the scenario you just painted will only happen at the local government level. But then again, the local government councils have the legislature made up of the councillors. So if there has been an infraction of the administrative functions or financial functions or political functions, they can take political solutions to that. But what we're talking about, or what we find detestable, is the idea of a governor feeling that he doesn't like how you're performing, and then he wakes up to announce a suspension or dissolution of the council. As far as I'm concerned, whether suspension or dissolution amounts to an unlawful interference or removal, because when you're suspended, you can no longer perform the functions you've been elected to carry out. If you've talked about financial malfeasance, the police is there, the EFCC, ICPC. If there be such allegations made against the local government council chairman, and the appropriate law enforcement agency finds that there is basis for proceeding, they should charge the person to court. But for goodness sake, the governor cannot pretend to be a judge in this matter and convict you and levy sentence by removing or dissolving your council. Hell no. They should be allowed to function. In any case, many governors are openly known to have embezzled funds and nobody has killed them. And they even escape prosecution even after leaving office, employing all manner of tactics to frustrate their trial. Let the law take its course. I'm not suggesting that where people have misbehaved, they should go ahead. And I think I need to say something about what Honorable, I don't want to murder his name.
Ikpokpo.
No, from Ikpokpo, yes, Honorable Ikpokpo said.
Yes.
The danger, again, in the judgment is that the governors may tell them, oh, what the Supreme Court just said, we should not, we should pay them, remove them. If after 3 years, we calculate the money, set it aside even, and pay them. Or you take it from the allocation of the month that the judgment is handed down. And I said it and I repeat it. If the Constitution has guaranteed a system of democratically elected local government, and the governor appoints caretaker or dissolves, it should be treated as a coup at the local government system. And funds made from them should be denied them, save to the extent as it's meant to take care of recurrent expenditure. The capital votes and all that should be deprived them, because that is the icing on the cake they are looking for in taking these unconstitutional and unlawful actions. And there should be penalties. Either the laws should be interpreted in such a way to punish those persons or stop them from holding offices, and those who lend themselves to be used to perpetrate these unconstitutional acts, until there are consequences for some of these actions. They will never end. So you don't sit in your office and feel that this person has done this, and then you remove him. And we should also be interested in finding out these monies local government chairmen sign or caretakers so that they have collected, where does it go? We must follow the money. These projects that they claim that they are jointly executing with the state governments, where are they? Where do they exist? If they are executed and we are in such a terrible state in our local government council areas, until we do this, the insecurity we experience in our various areas will never cease. They will never cease. The governors are stealing more money than they don't need them. They are very greedy, extremely greedy and power hungry. Okay. And I need to just beg for Okutekpa to allow. It's not terrorism of the law. It is the terrorism of politics. People are using their political power to terrorize those beneath them.
I use the word terrorism of law to mean that law must be seen to be a terror. So that nobody dare it. Like now, if you want to travel, because there is terrorism, you are very careful. Let there be the fear of law.
Of what the law can do to you.
Of what the law can do to you. That's what I meant by terrorism of law.
They have nothing to fear.
So they have nothing to fear.
I'm just wondering, I would like the two former local government chairmen who are with us still to respond to this aspect. Honorable Kende Olasebikon in Ibadan. There's a point that Mazi Afam has raised in response to the question I asked, to say, fine, is there a likelihood of local governments now saying, look, all right, fine, Supreme Court has said that state governors cannot dissolve us or sack us, so 3 years is our tenure, we will take our 3 years. But the laws setting up the local government also indicate sanctions in the event of any infraction, usually by suspension. But Mazi Afam is saying, look, let there be some self-regulation, that councils have their own legislature, and so they can discipline any erring chairman or vice chairman or otherwise. Can we reconcile this? Or how do we say that state governments can bring local governments into existence, and at the same time, the local governments now become self-regulatory entities?
Very much, sir. They actually have their own legislative arm. They have their council, and they have laws guiding their operations. They can suspend them, they can impeach if there are infractions. But beyond all this, what should be paramount to our mind is the issue of leadership and discipline. Leadership on the part of the state governor. Are you providing, is the government himself providing good leadership? Are you disciplined? If there is good leadership and there is discipline, all this we are talking about, I think it will go down drastically. Chief Okutekpa spoke about sanctions. I totally agree with him, and I think he can even initiate it. Yeah, he can send the private motion to the National Assembly, and in addition to them refunding funds, salaries collected, issues like that can be made a treasonable offense. It is that serious. So, in essence, there are sanctions. There are laws guiding the operations of local government. If any local government chairman has, the councillors, they have the power to sanction. They can either they can suspend or impeach, though they will recommend to the State House of Assembly, and that takes me to the next point. We need people of strong character to join politics in our country, Nigeria. We need more vibrant people. You see, when we come to politics and the interest is to make money, you cannot compete in making money. People have made money already. What we should come to politics to do is just to make a clear difference. If you are in the State House of Assembly, you should not turn to be the puppet or agent of the governor of the state. If you do that, you are losing your credibility and integrity. If you have people who say, okay, this is how things should do, starting from the state governor, my advice to the state governor, they say on their own, they say, let us rule by the law. Are you saying? What does the constitution say? If the constitution says that, let's go ahead. If we do that, we're going to make great progress.
Thank you very much there for your response. Let's see if we can get back to Honorable Ikpopo via Zoom to also respond to this whole issue as to the likely fallout from the Supreme Court decision, and how, in the event of any infringement of the state law on local governments, a councillors or chairmen or their deputies might be disciplined.
Well, thank you very much, listeners. First, there are three fundamental issues that Algon is dealing with at the national level. One of them is the issue of legitimacy, the issues of IMCs and caretakers and all of that. The second issue is the joint account system. The third issue is the issue of tenureship. All of this put together are issues that we have begun to engage. National Assembly, the Governors Forum, and they see the reality. And why I don't like to give blanket blame is because I'm an active player. And having worked in the National Secretariat of Algon, it will be unfair to blanketly blame all governors. There are some that are doing exceptionally well, I can tell you that. There are some who allow their chairman of council operate at the level of the system to which they have been given to operate. Now, the effect of this judgment, like I said, the Supreme Court has only done its job. The Supreme Court has relied on the principles of law to say what you have done is wrong. Now, any governor who does not believe in democratizing the local government system will simply go back and say, oh, no problem. The court say we should pay them, accountants get ready their monies and let's pay them. No. There needs to be more punitive measures. Don't forget, the NFIU exists. The NFIU is a creation of an executive order. How many of it is being monitored around the country? So the fact of the matter is that the issues of local government is deeper than what we are seeing. There's a deliberate attempt for local governments not to operate in this country. The same people who destroyed the local government system went to the states and are now in the federal government. Because all of us, even speaking here, we come from local governments. If our health systems do not work, our schools do not work, our markets do not function, taxes are being taken at different states. In fact, there are some states that just sit on local government taxes. There are some states that don't pay 10% to their, by law to their local government. These are all wrong things they are doing. But truth of the matter is that they should also copy from states that are doing the right thing. And our point at Algon is that there needs to be proper harmonization. Why should a chairman run for 1 or 2 years or 3 years and you remove him? It should be 4 years. It should be 4 years. Don't forget, in this country we are in, the last election, there was no ballot snatching. So even if there is SEC, there must be national cohesion. There must be principle of believing that nation building must come to play. And so I still believe that if we are talking of devolution of powers, if we are talking about autonomy, yes, the local governments can be autonomous to the extent that we understand that that is where nation building starts from. As for the judgment, sir, I believe that the judgment is clear, unambiguous. But I think that we need to go beyond the judgment. We need to get to a point where the judiciary is no longer taken for granted. Because it seems to me that, yes, the Supreme Court has said, so what next? Just pay them. No. It will get to a point in this country. Allocations will not be released to state, to joint accounts. Allocations should not be released to local government that have caretaker government. The Attorney General wrote a memo after the intervention of Algon, stating that there was need for states who have not done election to have elections. I think it doesn't have to be begged for, because there's an issue of legitimacy. We are a country. We are faced with challenges, and these challenges are a reflection of our disobedience of the laws that we have. We have laws in this country. We have serious laws in this country. You are saying that a governor will come in because it's not from my political party. Of course, the chairman will leave office because he gets the police and thugs to get him out of office, to get the chairman out of office. And the reason you give is that you feel that he will not listen to you, he will not obey you. For goodness sake, there are laws that we follow as countrymen in this country. And I think that the way forward is for this constitutional review to really address the issues. Jason is on strike today. Everybody is on strike. Labor is everybody, because we are not following the Constitution of the Federal Republic. And I think that the constitutional review is the best time for us to go back and do the needful. Until the local governments are a strong tier of government, I've always opined that Nigeria will continue to run in the circles that is run. As for this judgment, it's a welcome development, but I think that the governors who are engaged in this are not doing themselves, are not doing the unity of this country any good, and there's need for them to begin to reverse their thinking and copy from their colleagues across the country who are doing the right thing.
Thank you, Honorable Ichepo. Professor Mohammed Kabir Isa, let's move forward, and this we're heading to the close of this program, but all the same, let's say we're trying to find solutions here to this problem, and then see how the local government can really operate as a full third tier of government. You know, stopping their allocation, especially when things are done wrongly, there is one of the solutions being preferred. And then the Houses of Assembly being part of, you know, being those at the center of this problem needs to be looked at, because they make laws for the local government. Now, he mentioned, you know, constitutional amendment. Do you see this as an item really in trying to, you know, strengthen out or make the local government fully a full-fledged third tier of government that has the shield and the guarantee to survive without interaction or interference, you know, from the state governments and the Houses of Assembly? Is that really feasible?
Part of the problem of the local government system is the nature and the independence of the legislature. Since 1999, we've had a legislative arm of government at the state level, which are mere dogs, sitting dogs. I conducted a study for Chatham House in 2016 in the Northeast on the level of political underdevelopment in Northeast Nigeria. And we discovered that not only in the Northeast, but in virtually all parts of Nigeria, the State House of Assembly are mere rubber stamps to the executive arm of the government. And in fact, sequel to this Supreme Court judgment, the likely scenario is that, okay, governors cannot remove elected local government chairman council. But what we are likely to witness is that the governors will compel the State House of Assembly to rejig and rewrite provisions of the state local government law. You know, no local government can exist in Nigeria by the provisions of Section 7 and Section 8. No local government can exist without a state law, a state local government law. So what the governors are likely going to do to subvert this Supreme Court judgment is to go to the State House of Assembly with amendments to the provisions of the state law. But unfortunately, what Nigerians have forgotten, and which we need to remind them, because we tend to have an amnesia of memory, is that there's a decree, subsisting decree, Decree 36. And the earliest provisions of that decree, which is the basic transition decree, which gave life to the 1999 Constitution. Because if you nullify that decree, you will delegitimize 1999 Constitution. Because it was with that decree that we conducted elections. And it was with that decree that we elected the 1998 local government chairman, who built Algon, who constructed Algon Secretariat, and who bought Algon Jeeps for all the 774 divisional headquarters of local government. And the governors were not happy with that decision. And they got the federal government to do more for local governments without the approval of the governors. So in essence, what the governors will do is go back to this State House of Assembly to subvert the decision of the Supreme Court judgment by realigning the provisions of the state local government law. And so that aspect should be visited by lawyers. I want to, applaud the local government. We've been asking them to go to Supreme Court to determine the true status of local government. We need to understand what is the current status. In the federal structure called Nigeria, we need the Supreme Court to define that. Now, in defining that, they will be able to give us a proper definition of autonomy of the local government. We'll be able to understand the status, either politically, legally, financially, and otherwise, of the local government in Nigeria. And that will prevent the State House of Assembly from rewriting their own provisions, giving fervent to the existence of the local government and not contradicting the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. Okay. When we do that,
Professor Issa, just we're pressed for time. Your points are noted. I mean, there are a number of issues arising from what you have articulated regardless. I was just wondering, there's been an accent on saying, look, conduct elections at the local government level, conduct elections, don't have interim management committees and so on and so forth. What our experience has been, in virtually all states of the Federation, when the state independent electoral commissions conduct their elections, the ruling party wins that election 99.99999%. So, how then do we guarantee that indeed those elections are democratic at the local government level? Because again, the allegation is that the sweep of the polls is usually at the instigation of some chief executives. Very quickly, therefore, what do we need to do to reform the SIEC? I mean, I know that there's the argument abroad about bringing local government elections under the purview of INEC.
Well, for my own recommendation, we need to get the judiciary to appoint members of the State Electoral Commission, if that is the way forward, rather than allow the state executive arm of government to appoint members of the State Electoral Commission. Of course, if you allow the state executive arm to appoint the chairman of the State Electoral Commission, definitely he will appoint allies of the ruling political party, and definitely the ruling political party will win all the votes. And this is a model of what we are saying. When you say grant state powers to have state police, then that gives you an example of what will happen when you allow the state governor to appoint a state police commissioner. Then you know what will follow, using that as a model of what will likely happen. So for me, the way forward is to allow the judicial arm of government, or the national judiciary, the judiciary at the federal level, let the states nominate names. Let the DSS or the EFCC screen these people, and let the judiciary appoint members of the State Electoral Commission. Because we're in a federal system, those who are saying that INEC should conduct elections at the local government level are again challenging the principles of federalism in Nigeria. So it creates a major challenge. If you say INEC should conduct elections at the local government level, then you, in fact, nullify the principles of federalism. So we are talking about the spirit of checks and balance. The judiciary is also a check on the other arms of government. So we should get the judiciary.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Professor Mohamed Kabiru. Nigerians have spoken. Professor Hakim Boyowa, Chris Simeon, and a host of others too. We thank you so much for your comments. We're pressed for time. We may not be able to take them this time around from your tweets. Professor Mohamed Kabiru is the Professor of Governance in the Department of Local Government and Development of Studies, Faculty for Administration, Ahmad Bello University, Zaria. Thank you so much. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Jibrin Okutepa. It's our pleasure you've been here with us this morning.
Thank you.
Mazi Afam, as usual, we thank you so much, and we hope to see you next time again.
Thank you. It's been a delight being part of the program.
Honorable Ichiako Ipopo, it's our pleasure you've been with us. Ipopo was the Isoko South local government chairman. The immediate past, that is it. And of course, Honorable Kende Olaos Shibekon, the two-time local government chairman in Oyo State. It's our pleasure. We thank you so much for being part of this program this morning. Before we round up, let's take sports.
Akwa United moved to the summit of the Nigerian Professional Football League following a slim 2-1 win against Sunshine Stars in Uyo on Sunday. Charles Atihimeni gave the home team the lead on 21 minutes, while Sadiq Yusuf equalized for Sunshine Stars 11 minutes later. Seth Mai netted the winning goal for Akwa United in the 72nd minute. The Promise Keepers occupy top spot on the table with 37 points from 20 games. Sunshine Stars are now without a win in their last 13 games, while Kano Pillars missed the chance to secure top spot after they conceded a late equalizer in the 1-1 draw against Warri Wolves in Ozoro. Kwara United dropped to third position on the table following a 2-1 defeat to Nasarawa United in Lafia. Anas Yusuf secured the